desire and hatred, pleasure and pain, the aggregate, brackets the organism, intelligence and steadfastness described, this in brief is the field along with its modifications. So Shri Krishna tells Arjuna about the other 7 things. These are desire, hatred, pleasure and pain, the aggregate, the organism, intelligence and steadfastness. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna that he has described the kshetra, he's described in brief this as a field along with its modifications. These 7 things are worth understanding. The reason why these 7 are called modifications is that they either develop or destroy one's antakaran. Anyone remember what antakaran is? His inner being. All 7 of these things give rise to things and also destroy them. That is why they're called modifications. The Vaisheshika school of thought consider these modifications such as desire to be the dharma of the kshetragna, the knower of the field and of the soul. There are 6 schools of thought in Sanatana Dharma, which is known in the West as Hinduism. There are, firstly, Samkhya, number 2, Yoga, number 3, Nyaya, number 4, Vaisheshika, number 5, Mimamsa, and number 6, Vedanta, which you've all heard of. Out of these, the school of Vaisheshika consider these modifications to be the qualities of the soul and the dharma of the soul. But God says that they are the dharma of the kshetra, the field, and not the kshetragna, the knower of the field. All of these are the dharma of the body, but not of the soul. First of all, there is ichcha, desire. What is ichcha, desire? This is either remembering that from where one got pleasure in the past, or an attraction or craving towards an object that can give us pleasure, which we have heard about or which we have seen. This is ichcha, desire. Therefore, at the root of ichcha, desire, is the feeling of pleasure. Then it can be one's own experience or another person's experience. If somebody tells us that they got pleasure out of doing something, then we feel as if we should also do that. Or we ourselves may have the experience that when we got something, then we got pleasures from it. So the mind, as if it should do once again what one feels. This attitude and this wave that comes in the mind is also called a modification. This is because it was not there before. It arose and it also gets healed. That is why it is an ichcha, a desire. There are also other words for ichcha, a desire, such as vasana, a mental impression. How does an ichcha, a desire, get manifest? It can become manifest as a vasana, a mental impression, akanksha, attraction, lalsa, covetousness, spruha, a wish, and in many other ways. Ichcha, desire, becomes manifest in many different ways. In short, ichcha means attraction. Ichcha, desire, is the attitude that I want this. Whenever I want this, for an object is born in the mind, then all of these are wishes. And the longer that this list is, then the more that this doll has to dance. One keeps thinking that I want this, I want this, I want this. There are 2 types of desires, those that result in pleasures and those that destroy sorrows. Ultimately, one wishes to increase their pleasures, but if pleasures do not increase, then one wishes that those sorrows should reduce. One can also have desires for such things that can reduce their sorrows. The scriptures say that the wish for instruments that can increase one's pleasures and reduce one's sorrows is ichcha, desire. Ichcha, desire, is an attitude of the antakaran, the inner being. Think about ichcha. Think about the modifications that are regarded as being part of the antakaran, the inner being. Out of these, God places ichcha, desire, first. The reason for this is that ichcha, desire, is a root modification. When ichcha, desire, is born, then all of this comes after it. Lust comes, anger comes, etc. If there was no ichcha, desire, then there would be no need to do anything else. The root begins with ichcha, desire. That is why God has placed it first. If I were to go further, then I would say that all the pleasures, pains, and struggles of life are born as a result of ichcha, desire. It is an engine behind which all these carriages come. This is Icha, desire. Second, God mentions hatred. The attitude of neglect towards the instrument that gives one sorrows is hatred. The instrument can be a person, an object, or anything. If a person gets sorrows for something that they don't want that thing again. Hatred is enmity and an attitude of burning. A person who hates always keeps burning from the inside. A person who has wishes remains incomplete on the inside, whereas a person who has hatred always burns on the inside. Desire is an attraction, whereas hatred is a repulsion. I've said that desire is the attitude that I want it, whereas hatred is the attitude that I do not want it. Desire pulls and hatred pushes away. Hatred is the attitude that I do not want it. Shankaracharya says that in his commentary that hatred is knowing those objects that one has consumed in the past that have given one sorrows as a reason for those sorrows, and having the vehement thirst that one does not attain them again. And how does this hatred become manifest? What are the different forms that manifest from hatred? These include venom, envy, anger, scorn, contempt, etc. At the root of all of these is hatred, and hatred manifests in them. The third thing mentioned in this verse is pleasures. I've spoken about this over and over again in the Gita. I have spoken about the reasons for pleasures, how one gets pleasures, and so on. If I had to define pleasures, then it's said by Lord Parasar in the Parasar Gita in the Mahabharata that Yat istam tat sukham prahu dvesham dukham shirvartate. That which the mind likes are called pleasures, and that which the mind does not like are called sorrows. That from which the senses get conciliation are pleasures. Our scriptures say that pleasures are the happiness that occurs in one's antakaran, inner being, when one attains favourable instruments or favourable objects, or when unfavourable instruments or unfavourable objects go away. The bliss that one gets in the heart when they get something that they like is pleasures. The bliss that one gets in the heart when something that they do not like goes away is pleasures. Many times when you're sitting down in a group of 10 or 20, then there'll be one person who nobody likes, yet he has still come to sit there, and he doesn't even talk about getting up. Then 10, 15 or 20 minutes go away, and one cannot say that they want to have others in the presence of this person. So they take the route of nobody looking at this person, nobody talking with this person, changing the topic wherever this person speaks, doing all of this. This person gets a message that these people do not need me, and so I'll get up and go. People say that, are you going so early? But in their minds they're saying, finally, he is going. And when that person turns around, then you see the smile in the faces of all the people that finally he's gone. That happiness that they got in something that did not like going away is pleasures. And when a person gets happy when they get something that they like, then this is also pleasures. The complete opposite experience to pleasure is pain. When a person attains an unfavorable object or instrument, or loses a favorable object or instrument, then the unhappiness or sickness that one feels in the mind is pain. Pain is that from which the senses do not get conciliation. This is pain. The fifth thing mentioned in this verse is sangata. This is the first time that this word comes in the Gita, in the 6th verse. We will need to understand it a little. The literal translation of sangata is the cluster or the bunch. This is called sangata. What Shri Krishna is saying here, is talking about here, is the cluster of the body and the senses. We need to think about this a little. The body has been made out of the 5 great gross elements. What are the 5 great gross elements? Earth, water, fire, wind and ether. The senses live with the body. The attitude of clustering the body and the senses together is a sangata. The body was made up of the 5 great gross elements, and this quality of the body being made up of the 5 great gross elements is called sangata in Sanskrit. If I were to say it in another meaning, then I'll say it by reference to what I've said at the beginning of the chapter. When the subtle body and the causal body leave the physical body, then the puppet of this physical body that remains is called the sangata. Sangata means that from which the subtle body and the causal body have been removed. What remains after that? Only the senses. This is called Sangata. The cluster of the body is made up of the 24 substances, and this is called Sangata. That which was described in the 5th verse, go back to the 5th verse, is Sangata. Shri Krishna said, Mahabhutani amkaro buddhir avyaktam evacha indriyani dashai aktam cha panchache indriya yogachara. The five gross elements and self-sense, understanding, as also the unmanifested, the 10 senses, and the mind and the 5 objects of the senses. This whole cluster is called the Sangata. In this cluster there is no desire, hatred, pleasures and pains, Sangata, Chetna, nor steadfastness. The 6th thing described in this verse is Chetna. Chetna means consciousness, excitement, or efforts through wisdom and understanding. Shankaracharya says the attitude and mindset of experiencing the consciousness is Chetna. Nilkant, who is a very great commentator of the whole Mahabharata and also of the Gita, has said that Chetna is the pure intellect with divine qualities. The power of wisdom of the Antakaran, the inner being, through which we get experience of the pleasures and pains of all objects, is Chetna. The life breath running inside the body is Chetna. Transformations and modifications are constantly taking place in Chetna. For example, when one gets the sattvic good attitude, then one is very much at peace. When the rajasi, the passionate attitude comes, then one becomes a little active, resulting in worries, fears, interests and restlessness, and the life breath reduces, and this Chetna begins to get destroyed. Over here, Chetna is called the support of the Kshetra, the field, and is called matter because this Chetna is not only consciousness and is not only radiating. If I were to say it using a very simple example, then the Chetna in our body is like the tungsten wire inside an electrical light bulb. The light is coming from the tungsten wire, but does the tungsten wire light itself up? And does it light in itself? No. It is because the current of electricity comes that the light bulb becomes hot and lights up. In the same way, we have life breath inside us, and it is because of that life breath that our body is running and our life is running. This is fine, but is this life breath independent? Is this life breath itself powerful? No. This life breath also gets energy from the power of Brahman. The power of the consciousness of Brahman comes, and from that this life breath runs. That is why this Chetna is called matter. Many people ask why Chetna is mentioned in this verse. Shankaracharya gives a very nice example in his commentary that when you put a piece of iron in fire, then it heats up a lot and it turns into red iron. Then does that iron give light or not? It does. Does that iron burn or not? It does burn. But are all of these the qualities of iron? No. It is because the iron stayed in the presence of fire and within the realm of fire that the iron attained these qualities. In the same way, the life breath falls within the reflection of supreme consciousness and as a consequence it shines. It is just like the moon shines as a result of the light from the sun. This is what lights up the Chetna. This is what Shankaracharya says. Tapte lopinde agni iva. The 7th thing mentioned is Dhruti. Dhruti is the power of steadfastness. This is the power to give others support and look after them. The body is at the root made up of the 5 great gross elements like I've mentioned. Think about how much these 5 great gross elements oppose each other. I spoke about the 5 great gross elements earlier, and they are, as I said before, earth, water, fire, wind and ether. These are the 5 great gross elements. They are all opposed to each other. For example, the element of water and the element of fire are opposed to each other. If water falls into fire, then the fire will be put out. The element of wind and the element of water are close to each other. If there is a little wind, and the flame will last, but if there is too much wind, then the fire will be put out. The element of the earth and the element of water are close to each other. If some water falls onto the earth, then the earth will absorb the water. The element of water wets something, and the element of wind dries something. They are all conflicted with each other. Therefore, do you not need some power to collect all 5 of these opposing gross elements and to put them together in this body? If there are 5 people in the family, then the minds of these 5 people are going in different places. They cannot last with each other, but if you need a mother to keep all 5 of these people together, all of them think that mother is here. When we fight, then mother does not like it, so let us leave it and stay quiet. But there is some substance as a result of which all 5 of these are held together and stay in the same place. In the same way, these 5 great gross elements are opposed to each other. How then do they stay in the body? What is this power? This power is dhruti. They forget their conflicts. Not only do they forget their conflicts, but they become complementary to each other. God says in verse 14 of the 15th chapter of the Gita that aham veshva naro bhutva, meaning becoming the fire of life in the body of living creatures. God is the fire in the stomachs of all creatures, and we drink so many glasses of water. Will the fire go out or not? No, this power is dhruti. All of these modifications are of the kshetra, the field, and not of the kshetragna, the knower of the field. But what happens is that because it constantly lives with the kshetra, the field, the kshetragna, the knower of the field, often considers these modifications to be its own. That is why a person says, I have a wish. In reality, if you are the soul, then can you possibly have a wish? No, because a wish is a characteristic of the kshetra, the field. We can say that I am happy, I am sad, or when you say this, then I get sad. But how can we get sad? But when this me gets stuck in the middle, then this becomes the ignorance of the kshetragna, the knower. The moment when the kshetragna, the knower, considers itself to be different from the kshetra, the field, then at that moment, all 7 of these modifications fall away. Shri Krishna said in the first 2 verses of this chapter that idam shariram konteya kshetram iti abhidayate etadyo vetitam prahu kshetragna tadvita kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetrashu bharata kshetra kshetragnayo jnanam yatajnanam matam mama. Meaning the body, O son of Kunti, Arjun, is called the field, and he who knows this, those who know thereof, call the knower of the field. Know me as a knower of the field in all fields, O Bharata Arjun. The knower of the field and its knower do I regard as true knowledge. When one knows this, then all these modifications fall away immediately. Then what happens after one has attained wisdom is that desires and hatred are healed. One knows about the feelings of pleasure and pain, fortune and adversity, but no deformities in one's antakaran, inner being, arises as a result of this. This is the consequence of Gnan, wisdom. A wise person knows about pleasures and pains, and he understands them, but no deformities arise in his antakaran, his inner being, because of them. If I were to give an simple example, then a wise person has sat down there to eat. He realizes that the ice cream has been made well, and he enjoys eating it. He realizes that the curry has been made tasty. He gets this pleasure, and if there is a chili in his curry, then his mouth burns as well, and water comes out of his eyes as well, and he has to drink 2 glasses of water. A wise person gets these experiences of pleasure and pain, but through these, no attraction or repulsion arise in him. This is the difference. If there is a tasty curry, then a wise person enjoys the taste of this and gets pleasure from this. He even says that this curry has been made very well today, but after 15 days, a wise person does not say, make the curry in the same way you made 15 days ago. This would mean that the curry has come in his mind. The curry was nice, and he got pleasures from it, but it does not lead to any deformities in him, and no print of this is left in him. He is like a mirror, and not like a photographic film. What happens to us is that we're all like photographic films. When we get one experience, then we hold on to it. Not only do we hold on to it, but it sticks on to us. Anya shetre krutam papam, punya shetre vinashati, punya shetre krutam papam, varja lepo bhavyashashati. If one has committed sins in any other field and goes to a holy place, then they get washed there. But if one has committed sins in a holy place, then these sins become cemented. They do not even get peeled off. Even if you ask them after 15 years, then they'll know about it. Many times when I meet such people, then I find it very strange. People say that when we met for the first time, then we ate this. At that time, it was like this. Oh, clever person, do you remember this? I looked at him very blankly, saying, I do not know all this. He had feelings inside him. Many people say that 10 years ago, when you came to my house, then you liked this very much, so I'm making it again. But those 10 years have gone. He has feelings inside him, and I respect those emotions, but it's been so long. A wise person takes what is in front of him, and if it is not there, then he does not worry about it. What I mean to say is that when a wise person has attained wisdom, then first attraction and repulsion go away. He realizes when he is getting experiences of pleasures and pains, but no prints of these are left in him, and that is why his attachment goes away. No attraction nor repulsion arise in him. A wish for companionship is going to stay. While one is alive and his life is running, then he has to stay with other people. He stays with other people, but the feeling of mindness goes out of this. This is because he knows that this is not me. I am the Kshetragna, the knower. I am not the Kshetra, the field. The feeling of mindness goes away, and the moment when his mindness goes away, this means that all his bondages get released. Or if I say that in another meaning, then when he realizes that everything there is Brahman, and everything is the Supreme Soul, and then he realizes that he is also the Kshetragna, the knower, that he is residing in each and every atom of the Kshetra, the field, and when he gets the feeling of Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am God, not through words, but through experiences, then his body becomes a field of punya, the opposite of sins in its true meaning. The body of an ordinary person is a Kurukshetra. Guru means to do, and Kshetra means the field. This is what keeps happening in our fields, that we keep doing and doing. Therefore, our bodies are Kurukshetra, whereas the field of a wise person becomes a Dharmakshetra, the field of Dharma, a field of righteousness. And it is written about in front of these people that Tirtha Swarup, a form of a holy place. This is a very great word. Tirtha Swarup, a form of a holy place. This is because he has experienced the supreme truth in each and every element of his being, and he has experienced the supreme truth in each and every place. Attraction and repulsion have gone away, pleasures and pains have gone away, and his mindness towards people around him is gone. In the same way, while the body is there, the consciousness and the life breath will stay, but he makes positive use of this, and the dhruti, the power of steadfastness, is also going to stay there. But he lives with an attitude of sattva, goodness, and no deformities are left in him. One may have the question that when I said that one has mindness towards the body, one's mindness towards the body gets released, then how does this get released? What is necessary for this? One needs gnan, wisdom for this. What is gnan, wisdom? Shri Krishna says in the Gita that this is gnan, wisdom, that is applied in one's life. It is not the gnan, the wisdom of just talking. What Shri Krishna is talking about in the Gita is the gnan, the wisdom of living. What is this gnan, wisdom? From the 7th to the 11th verses, in these 5 verses, God has shown 20 qualities. Just like they were the qualities of a devotee in the 12th chapter of the Gita, and the quality of a sthita prajna, a person settled in intelligence, in the 2nd chapter of the Gita, in the same way in the 13th chapter of the Gita, there are the qualities of gnan, wisdom. What can you call gnan, wisdom? God only calls this gnan, wisdom. I've used the word qualities to make the language simple. God just says that this is gnan, wisdom, because one should live gnan, wisdom. A person who has these things living in his life can be called a wise person. This itself is the wisdom. This is because Shri Krishna says in 11th verse, after describing all of these qualities, that etad gnanam viti pruktam agnanam yadyo anyanta. This is declared to be true wisdom. All that is different from this is non-wisdom. 20 qualities will be described. If I were to improve the language, then I would say that 20 experiences will be described. A person who has these 20 experiences is a wise person. They have been shown in just 5 verses. The saint of Maharashtra called Gnaneshwar wrote the very famous Gnaneshwari Gita, and there have also been a Gujarati translation of this. The Saint Gnaneshwar has commentated on these 5 verses using 700 verses. There are 700 verses in total in the Gita. The Gnaneshwari is a very big scripture, But Gnaneshwarji has commentated on these 5 verses that are to follow using 700 verses. I'm saying this to show the greatness of the 5 verses that are going to come. They are of an endless amount of importance. These 20 qualities are shown in 2 ways. The first is that one who wishes to go on a path of Gnan wisdom should bring these 20 qualities into their life. The second is that whenever Gnan wisdom has manifested in one's life, then you see these qualities in their life. Let us go into the first of these verses, verse 7.